Um, I was going to originally do um Halo. What was it? What? Not Reach. The other one.
ODST.
ODST. Yeah, I was originally going to do that. And I didn't hate it. So your quick review of it. It seems pretty good. It's like a noir take on Halo. I'm not sure I want that from Halo, but for what it was pretty good. Um, but I got to thinking, I think there's actually a bigger conversation about Halo that we could be having. And I remembered that Halo 2 was one of the earliest games on console that I could remember that actually had DLC. I don't know if people
Yeah,
really remember that, but it in a I don't remember what year it was released. I should probably look at that.
four,
It
I think.
released in 2005
Five.
for $20. I think the game came out. Halo 2 came out in 2004,
Okay.
and then the there's a downloadable multiplayer map pack that costs $20 that you could buy, and that just shows you how popular Halo was. Because I think it had I got the stats here. It had 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 additional maps that you could play for Halo 2. Uh, and it also had a couple other things. It had some videos. So, like a 3-minute Halo 2 side story cutscene about a squad of Marines stranded near Old Mombasa. And it had like a documentary just showing how Bungie made the 9 maps, in case you were curious about that. I guess it's just
I
uh
don't know why it's so funny to me.
yeah.
It's like, we put the door over here on this one.
You're probably wondering why. Let me explain.
The warthogs in this quadrant because Fred came in one morning.
Yeah.
It all started in Forge mode.
And it's got some like trailers and announcement stuff, which is just kind of funny. Um, but I mean, as a whole, I found it so curious that this is kind of it's not the first console game with DLC. I did a little bit of research, and they'd experimented with this on the Dreamcast, which is kind of cool to think about. But the problem with the Dreamcast was they didn't have a very large hard drive. Like that wasn't really like there was a very 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 limited space because they didn't really think about that at the time. And I mean, even in PS2 and GameCube, those didn't really have anything either. But the Xbox did have a dedicated hard drive that was actually pretty robust for the time. So they could do things like theoretically give you DLC. So in a way, if you want to put the blame on anybody for creating DLC, you might want to go the Microsoft route because they are the ones that equipped consoles to have the capability to download content. So I just thought it was an interesting footnote in the history of gaming that Halo 2 had. While all the great things it brought us one thing that this community really doesn't like, which is DLC. It's not the first Xbox game with DLC either, but it is obviously it's Halo 2, so very very popular and worth noting. As far as the maps go, they were okay. None of them will stand the test of time against the more popular ones like Lockout and Gulch, but I did
Right.
like one called Warlock, which my friends did not. So we only played a couple of rounds on it, but I liked it a lot. It was a very close game, so it was like shotgun was popular. I think the sword you could get it in that map, but again, just very close combat, and I liked the fact that it was just constant warfare, like very very quick, almost it almost felt like an Unreal Tournament style map,
Mhm.
but with the gameplay of Halo. So I thought it was really fun and nice change of pace from Zanzibar. But there's not a lot to say about it. But I think there's a lot of discussion to be had around DLC and what it could add to console gaming at the time. Because it's worth noting too. Obviously, PCs. This is nothing new. This has been going on forever. They have literally expansion packs were just the norm for forever. So this was
Right.
nothing new for PC, but for console, this was brand new, and I think a lot of people were probably excited by it, not really thinking of the negative things that could come from this. Did you guys ever mess around with the multiplayer pack?
I didn't download it because I was poor and a child. So, I own the game. And
Well,
it really annoyed me. I don't know if this was exclusive to Halo 2 or if it was Halo 3. I don't think it was Halo 2. I think it was Halo 3. But once they introduced those extra maps, they weren't there in the beginning. So when you played multiplayer in the beginning, you could just join in any Team Slayer or Slayer, buffering match. But when they introduced those, if you didn't have them and then the engine switched or said the next map is going to be one of the expansion pack ones, you'd get booted from the lobby.
Oh my god.
It was egregious. I absolutely hated that. But I kept playing anyway because there was nothing better to do. But no, that was a scummy practice that I didn't appreciate. I don't think it started with 2, but at the time I was playing 3, I remember that distinctly.
yeah, I never downloaded it, but I think something interesting, and this shows like the time period that we were in at that point with DLC. Well, like we had, like, of course, like you said, the Dreamcast had some DLC, but it was never huge. And then, like, there were consoles before that, like the Super Nintendo and Genesis both had things where you could download games, but they weren't exactly like the same idea as DLC. But what's interesting is that the fact that they released the Halo 2 DLC on a disc, like you could just go buy it.
That's how I got it.
So yeah. So it was like the idea of buying downloadable content on a disc, and this wasn't the only one game that did that. Fable did that too with the Lost Chapters. It was like they released it on a disc as well, so you could get the game with the DLC or whatever.
Mhm.
And it's such a is like that is such a product of that time. Like I can't imagine buying DLC today, just DLC on a disc.
Yeah.
So, as like how new of a concept that is. So, whenever I am out and about, sometimes I'll still see that Halo 2 map pack disc, and it just makes me smile.
Well, you brought up an interesting point. Is that if you just take DLC at its word, DLC, downloadable content. I don't love that term because, especially from a PC perspective, downloadable content is literally anything, and it changes the it. I don't know if it's really what they mean because, like, if you're playing on PC, people can make mods for games, and you have to download the mod. So therefore, is that DLC? Is that downloadable content? I think in the context of what most people refer to as DLC, it's additional paid content by the developers for their game.
Mm-hmm.
I think that's the understood notion, and just to clarify, like, we have to clarify that term because it can get a little sticky when, like Alex was talking about, there were downloadable stuff. In Japan, I think there's even more for a lot of, like, for early stuff, that when they were just messing around with, like, internet starting and, like, being able to submit data or transmit data across telephone lines. But I'm really referring to more of, like, content for an existing property sold by the developer, because that's what gets into the scummy practice that our community faces, where it's you have a question mark. You have, okay, was this content meant for the game and you just decided not to release it and release it later to make us pay for it? Like, it starts to become that question. And I think that's an interesting question. I'm actually not anti DLC. I'll put that out there. I'm kind of pro DLC, honestly, with the caveat that obviously it's possible that there's a nefarious practice going on. But on the other hand, and I think our friend Legend of Leo did a pretty good video. I don't know if he fully addressed it, but he was discussing inflation, essentially, and is gaming more expensive now than it was before. And realistically, games have not increased in the base cost by very much. In fact, in some ways, they're actually cheaper now than they ever were, especially if you take inflation into account. They're astronomically cheap. And one way that I think they've managed to keep that down is by monetizing the game and selling DLC. So ideally, the core game, with fluff removed, is what you get. And in a way, that's good. Maybe they took out stuff that just wasn't really needed, and they said, "Hey, we could sell it later to, like, the super fans," and that's what you get.
There's some funny practices still happening with that though.
Mhm.
Recently, I was reading about a thing yesterday. Have you heard about the Star Wars Outlaw stuff that's happening?
Mm-mm.
Oh man, so Ubisoft, who's one of the most egregious when it comes to DLC, they're making that Star Wars Outlaw game, and you can buy like three different SKUs. You know how they do that. So
Yeah.
it's like main game, whatever edition, and then like the 109 edition that has all the stuff. Well, if you buy like the $109 edition, you get exclusive access to a Jabba the Hutt mission, one mission where you get to work for Jabba the Hutt.
Oh yeah.
And everybody was so upset because they're like, why do we have to pay $109 to get one mission with Jabba the Hutt? And then Ubisoft was like, no, guys, that's not the Jabba the Hutt mission. That's a Jabba the Hutt mission. And they're like, that doesn't make it any better.
That makes it so much worse.
Yeah. I want the definitive Jabba the Hutt experience, okay? I don't want any old Jabba the Hutt mission.
That is literally them cutting a mission out and being like, yeah, you got to pay extra if you want to play that one mission.
Yeah. Well, I'm for it in the sense that like let's really test what people are willing to pay. You know? I'm a capitalist. I love the idea of capitalism and I'm just curious because people can bitch and moan online all they want. But if they make a bunch of money off this and it worked, then what does that tell you? You know? Like the proof is right there in the financial figures. If people literally will pay that $109 for a Jabba the Hutt mission on top of the ones they already had, I mean, hey, somebody.
But that's
somebody out
the
there found that.
quandary. It only works for franchises with staying power. It does not. You can, like. I don't think DLC is as common. Like you would think it's like the law of the land that all modern games are like DLC whores, but it's really only the franchise that can get away with it, and those that don't, they just won't sell. And I mean, like, what's the harm? And I guess the harm will be for their reputation in the long run. But when I think of like modern games that I played, even like with the Resident Evil 4 remake, don't they just give you like all the like added DLC for free? Like at that point, and I wouldn't say that from my understanding, that stuff was withheld. It's pivotal story stuff. It was mercenaries missions and like, and that's positive example where they just give it to you after the fact.
Well,
I
way
don't know. Is my
later.
point like
Way
making
later.
sense?
I mean, they give it to you. way
Sure, but
later.
and it was not missing from or it wasn't like something that I think was originally in the plans and then they just scrapped.
Well,
Like
they
they
did
deliberately
they,
pulled it out,
they did release that Ada Separate Ways thing for $10, which apparently is really good. So like good value, I guess. But that was sort of held back for the original Resident Evil 4.
Yeah.
But was it planned to like? Was it already designed at the time, and like
I
was
don't
it a pivotal part of the experience? I don't know.
We can't
Yeah.
know that. That's sort of the big conundrum. And I try to be optimistic and not look at companies as evil, even though I see profit as not as evil. So I try to remain positive, and I certainly, like you mentioned, Ubisoft. Fuck that company, dude. I
Yeah.
can't stand Ubisoft. I think but not even just for prices and stuff. I just watch them use the same engine over and over again and just use the shit out
Oh
of it.
God,
Even when
everything, man.
even when it's a bad engine.
That's my issue with the modern gaming is like when everything feels like it's just developed in the Unreal Engine. It's like I keep playing the same thing over and over again, just with different like little twists. But I think
don't mind the Unreal
the back to
Engine,
the
but
back to
like,
the Ubisoft thing though. I think that they've done harm to their reputation in that way. Now when you see a Ubisoft game, fuck that company. Like, and I don't think you're definitely not the only guys who feel that way. I know just from you guys saying that, and like when I see Ubisoft or some other similar companies, I kind of feel similar. Like I just kind of look away. Like I know what your practice is. I see these fighting game bundles, it's like $10 on sale. But then there's like a $119 version. I'm like, what's the catch,
mhm.
Well, I think fighting games are one of the few genres that can get away with it because fighters are such a pivotal part of the experience anyway. And honestly, if you're into fighting games and you buy fighting game DLC, it feels substantial, it feels like it's actually important to the gameplay to like have the extra characters and stuff. So
I'm not a fighting fan, but I look at that as highway robbery, fighting
Yeah.
games.
Mhm.
That's insane to me.
to have
That-
support for 3 years for one fighting game with DLC,
Yeah, yeah.
new
they-
characters, new characters always coming out.
like, hey, we're gonna keep this game alive by releasing one character, and it's like, oh my god, we all have to buy it, and it's like, whoa, that's wild. But I mean, that spirit, I guess, has been kept alive for forever. I mean, that's the arcade experience, right? Is gouge like every freaking quarter out of a human that you can. So they're just following their they're following what they've always done on that one. But it's they're not all.
I mean, I just
yeah.
think too of in terms of fighting games, like Mortal Kombat Armageddon released with every single Mortal Kombat character at the time. There was no need for more DLC. So I always thought that was kind of like a unique thing. Brawl had a like significant roster. Like that was pretty impressive. I don't know. I mean, with Smash, that's a different conversation. We can have that one next month if you want, but I don't know.
Well, they released a ton of DLC for theirs.
Oh yeah,
They got that's a whole I don't even know what to call it. Like cultural phenomenon was like the Smash Direct.
Yeah.
Like
Oh, yeah, later.
character reveals. They milked the shit out of that for years and kept it
Yeah.
relevant. So that's an interesting case study.
Well, that's
I'm not ready to comment on that.
well, it's if you think the other stuff is evil, you can't think that isn't evil. But I don't really think it's evil. I think it's a testament to their brand. They really did a good job of having and they're protective of their Nintendo brand, and they can sell that stuff at a premium because their brand means that much. So
it
good on
feels
them.
it feels valuable. Jabba the Hutt mission does not feel valuable. You know
Not
what I mean?
anymore. Not anymore since Star Wars has been hoard out till no end.
Yeah.
Like if this were like back in like the 90s or like not like the early 2000s or something.
2000s. Yeah.
Holy shit, that would have been.
If this was pre Battlefront 2 loot boxes, maybe.
Yeah.
Because God.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But no, that's Halo map pack.
Yeah. Matt Pat.
Map pack.
No, Matt Pat from Game Theory.
Oh. I'm just trying to make a
He
song.
plays
and
Halo?
You're talking about your boyfriend.
Yeah, my boyfriend Matt Pat. Remember Matt Pat?
Yeah.
He's that's just a theory.
A boyfriend
Hey,
theory.
boyfriend theory. Thanks for smooching.
Maybe we have some people in the chat, but they're not going to ask any questions. So I guess we're
No,
open.
no.
They
To,
don't
open
need to.
questions.
We're gonna do. Just say hi. Hi, everybody.
Nobody's talking. We have 5 people watching. Nobody cares. Did
Hey, I care.
you put something in the chat, Daddy?
Care.
I know it's so
Says I
weird.
care.
We had so much involvement on Treasure One.
Treasure Wah.
It's a lazy Saturday. Is it like Easter or something? Easter Bunny
It's
came in.
it's 420.
Oh, everyone's too high.
Yeah, everyone's
They're like
too high.
nervous to like say something they're gonna regret.
Yeah.
Don't be shy. Go get high.
You think
Type
Brian's
something in the chat.
Brian's smoking up today?
Yeah, he's smoking his joints.
Totally,
As he
yeah.
always does.
He's token gamer.
The token gamer?
Yeah.
The token gamer or the Tolkien gamer?
Why not both? Token with Tolkien.
only plays
Hey
Lord
everybody,
of the
welcome
Rings
back to a Lord of
games.
the Rings. Yeah, my Lord of the Rings channel. Hey guys, welcome back to Tolkien. Today we're token up a spliff while talking all things JRR.
Man, I would make some jokes, but I don't know anything about Lord of the Rings, so
Second breakfast?
Orcs, elves, dwarves. But what about second breakfast?
What about second breakfast? Fool of a toque. Oh, there's a lot in the Lord of the Rings. Did you ever read the book, Teddy?
I bet.
Oh, a long time
Tyler's
ago, I
here.
read the trilogy. And I read The Hobbit.
Tyler says, I look like a hippie, but I don't smoke.
There we go. Hey, that's good. Preserve the lungs.
From Bully.
In the brain. I did read the books.
Yeah,
Was a while ago.
yeah, I read them in high school. So
Nerds.
these movies.
Would you
these
read 'em
movies are
again?
cool. Yeah, maybe. I didn't hate them. They were good.
Mm.
It's
Okay.
not really my thing that I read now, but it was. I mean, it's so culturally relevant that it might be worth another. It was pretty close. The books were pretty close to the movies, but there was like
Yeah.
an entire character that I remember that like Tom Bombadil was just like not in the movies at all. I think he might be in The Hobbit, but I hated The Hobbit so much that I don't really remember the movies that much.
Oh, Hobbit movies was like,
Those were a joke.
yeah. It was like that was the shortest book, and
Yeah.
they made equal length movies out of it.
Yeah, it's weird to make like a 9-hour total runtime out of like a 100-page book or however long it was.
Is there DLC?
Yeah, DLC from The Hobbit.
DLC, the movie.
Yeah.
Downloadable Lord of the Rings.
All right. Well,
Tyler,
since
we
they-
had some James Bond talk. You'll have to.
It's a bondage.
Well, we can just ask him again. I don't know.
Some James
James
bondage.
Oh, James Bondage is that's
James
after hours.
Bondage.
Damn,
That's the
I'm down for that.
stupidest idea. That's the dumbest idea.
There you go.
Dum, da, dum, 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 da, da, dum, 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 dum.
I'm man. Well, Spencer, thank you for talking about Halo 2 DLC before DLC was DLC. Very nice of you. Did you play it on the original Xbox for this?
Back in the day, yeah, I played the hell out of it.
No, I meant for this.
No, I didn't touch it for this.
It went down memory lane.
Yeah, just remembered how interesting it was that this exists.
Tyler says, I remember Tom Bombadil has godlike powers and a hot wife. We all strive to be Tom
Go back to the
Bombadil.
book for that.
Basically, me. Just
Godlike
describing-
powers and a hot wife.
Yeah.
That's why it stuck out to you so much after all these years.
Is that what she calls you in bed, Spencer? Tom Bombadil?
Yeah. That's why she keeps going, fuck me, Tom, fuck me.
Tom Bombadil. It's too much to say. The whole thing.
She says, fuck me, Tom. And then afterwards, I just think in the shower, she must have been talking about Tom Bombadil. And she must think I'm that.
She must think I'm Tom Bombadil. It's sick.
It's the only explanation for her calling me Tom.
Tom Bergeron.
Tom Badil.
Is it Tom Bergeron from like America's Funniest Home Videos?
Yeah, he's a funny guy. He's a good guy.
I only know him from that. I don't know what he did other
He
than
was
that.
he's like a host of, like Dancing with the Stars.
Oh, I don't watch that.
I don't either, but
Was that one as funny as America's Funniest Home Videos?
Alex, nothing is as funny as America's Funniest Home Videos. They're the funniest. It's in the
They're
title.
America's Funniest. You're right. I should have. I feel stupid.
Used
now.
to watch that while eating best wings.
These
You
are
know,
they
the
the
best
best
chicken wings ever.
Oh man, I want the worst wings.
Ah, I want worst wings. Yeah.
Things too good.
That reminds me of the joke from Elf with the world's best cup of coffee, and he's like, "We did it, everybody! Congratulations!
We did it.
Congratulations on the world's best cup of coffee!"
See, I love it. I love Christmas movies, even stupid ones. I don't really give a shit. And Elf is great. I love that movie. We watch it like every year.
Elf's good.
Up
Elf's
on the
classic.
shelf.
Yeah.
Hey y'all, don't forget to subscribe to them button mappers.